All right, down here at the bottom right, a member of the team MVP. Some pretty good micro from him last game. I was quite impressed. He is known as
MVP TAiLS.
MVP TAiLS. His opponent over here at the top left. Very interesting strategy.
vanvanth vanvanth.
Made his gate a little bit later last game. And he had a probe inside of his opponent's base, scouting what was going on. I think it would have been more appropriate for him to add more gates or chrono boost his warp gate. He was chrono boosting units out of his gateways. Ended up getting kind of, it was a little weird what ended up happening there. He had more units initially, but when the warp gate finished, he just couldn't keep up with production. That's how warp gates work, obviously, for those of you guys who don't know anything about StarCraft 2.
And putting down those 2 pylons of the ramp was really key. One pylon was able to get taken down, but the second one was there. And if vanvanth were to try to focus down that second pylon, he wouldn't be doing the fighting against the army, which he really needed to do at that time.
Yeah. So, like we were saying earlier, on this map, 4-gate can be quite strong because there's no ramp. But on the other hand, there's this little high ground area next to the choke point that you can defend pretty well on. You've got stalkers up there. It's very difficult for your opponent to gain vision, much more difficult than it is, you know, on a more normal ramp. That's that high ground area right there that I'm talking about. As you can see, vanvanth can't see it. When he attacks, he's going to have vision up there in some way.
Not only that, but when this probe comes into scout, he's not going to see anything unless he peeks up that ramp, so it can help TAiLS to make it seem like he is doing a proxy for a little bit longer. 2 gas going down at the same time. vanvanth does see this. I don't know exactly what that's going to trigger him into thinking.
Yeah, most likely with the 2 gas here, he's preventing the gas steal. I mean, normally you don't get 2 gases this quickly, and with that, he's just going to prevent the gas steal. Now vanvanth's going to go up here and check. He's going to see it's a pretty normal opener.
Normal opener, a bit different positioning, but yeah, once you scout it, it's not going to make you feel too different than any other game.
Yeah. When you get 2 gas like this, if you actually use both of them, which we do see TAiLS doing, it reduces the amount of gateway units you can make. You can't make your additional gateways very quickly, but you can tech up very quickly, and this may scare vanvanth a little bit. The chrono boost of TAiLS is up to 78, it's going up to 80 here, so he's definitely saving that up. I'm kind of curious to see what he's going to use it on. Most likely going to be using it on warp gate research and units out of that gateway.
Yeah, and you can actually see the amount of energy that your opponent has on their Nexus, so you can kind of tell exactly what build they're going with as well when you have that scouting probe in your opponent's base for so long.
vanvanth's actually hiding his probe at the 3rd base. He may end up using that later for a warp, and he's adding his own 2nd gas now, though. TAiLS does see this with his own probe. Probe will be chased out pretty soon by that Stalker, though.
Stalker does finish.
Right now, warp gate research for both these guys, pretty similar. Do see TAiLS adding 2 gateways, adding a 3rd gateway, so he's going to be going up to 4.
As is Ennis Host's
I
vanvanth.
like that gas cancel. I do this a lot actually on the ladder. If you do that, it tricks your opponent into thinking, okay, he's not 4-gating no matter what. He took his 2nd gas. Very, very good move. Now, both of these players, when the 4 gates occur, they're going to want to use that high ground area. The problem for TAiLS is he doesn't have as much surface area to put stalkers up there as vanvanth does because he didn't put any structures up there.
That is true, but TAiLS is going to be able to get out a lot more stalkers and sentries if he wants to use that gas on his gateway units instead of teching up further, while vanvanth is going to need to focus more on Zealot heavy army because he only has 1 gas.
Here goes the forward pylon for vanvanth. It looks like TAiLS just wants a defensive 4-gate with these 2 gases. He has pulled probes off of that gas, so he's mined about 75 gas out of there. And the warp gate research finishing for both players. TAiLS a little bit faster, having his units out a little bit quicker.
And he also has those chrono boosts saved up like you were talking about, so he can continue to get his 2nd and 3rd wave a lot faster as well.
That's very true. Here comes vanvanth now, going to try to put a pylon here, making 2 pylons here just to make sure he can keep warping units in, and he can also warp it on that high ground if he gets vision of it. It's going to be very difficult to do so, though. And I got to say, TAiLS looking like he's in a good spot here. He's got the better concave. Stalker's taking
the first volley off as well. 1 pylon gets canceled. The 2nd one is going to go up.
Wants to have a better concave. More reinforcements warping in here for vanvanth. TAiLS not so quick on his, but he looks like he is going to have the better concave here again. Having that arc is so important, but the Zealot's tanking a lot of hits for those Stalkers.
Is 6 Stalkers, or 5 Stalkers now for TAiLS against 4 of vanvanth's. The Zealots are going to be huge in this fight, though. They're forcing some of the Stalkers to back off, but not quite enough as the 2nd wave from vanvanth does come in. This is a really tense battle going on right now.
Good micro by TAiLS, targeting down the Stalkers with his Stalkers, but I think vanvanth just has too much. He's killing the Zealots of TAiLS.
A few
now
probes being pulled.
He's working on the probe line now, and it looks like he will take out this last Stalker, or he can if he wants to. He's warping in just another one first, just to be safe. And it looks like this is going to be it for TAiLS.
TAiLS was forced to pull some probes, so he is behind on economy in addition to the army right now. His army is going to go down, and he is GGing.
GG.
Very quick Protoss versus Protoss series.
Yeah, and vanvanth's laughing, actually.
Huh. I think he knows that he was a little bit behind in that fight, but for some reason TAiLS didn't get out his reinforcements as quickly as he needed to. It's really unfortunate for him.
Yeah, he didn't chrono boost his gateways. TAiLS did. Yep, or vanvanth did rather, and that came into play. Also, he didn't react. He actually had his gateways not on cooldown, and he didn't warp in units quickly enough. And vanvanth, he went for it. He warped them in. He made those pylons, and then he constantly had the better arc. TAiLS never really got his units in the proper arc. He kind of moved them around. And whenever the Zealots were out, he didn't move forward and snipe Stalkers, which you're supposed to do. You're supposed to avoid the Zealots, just keep targeting down Stalkers. Instead, though, he attacked the Zealots, and that allowed the Stalkers of vanvanth to attack his Stalkers, and that really became significant towards the middle of that fight.
Yeah, when you're playing a Protoss versus Protoss army, you really just want the Zealots there for a meat shield. You want to just absorb hits with them, or scare your opponent into running away, not shooting.
Yeah, at the highest level, what you want to do, I'll give you guys a little tip. You basically just right-click to move forward, right-click on a Stalker, right-click to move forward, right-click on a Stalker, right-click to move forward, so that you're always moving away from the Zealots. They're not doing that much damage to you, but you're also doing damage as you move forward.
Yep.
Instead of just going, oh, I'll just shoot at the Zealots and then worry about the Stalkers. Don't do that. You get so many shots on you from that.
Yeah, it's all about maximizing your DPS or damage per second, and there's a lot of different tricks you can do, but TAiLS just didn't quite do enough in that battle, and he ended up losing.
Unless you have like a 3-to-1 Zealot-Stalker ratio, the Stalkers are always more important. Like, it's always more important to keep your Stalkers alive. You don't want your Stalkers shooting at Zealots ever, because even if he has so many Zealots, if your Stalkers are alive, once you kill all his Stalkers, those Zealots are never going to hit you. They're never going to hit you. You're just going to micro away, and that's just it.
Yeah, so that was pretty unfortunate. TAiLS did fall 1-2 to vanvanth. vanvanth will advance to the round of 8, which means that he can continue to try on for the Code A victory and be the champion of that to move into Code S, but he has also secured his spot in the up and down matches, and we'll be seeing him trying to get one of the current Code S players knocked down to Code A.
vanvanth actually was a former Code S player. He just fell down last season, so maybe he'll have his chance getting back up there. Hopefully he doesn't have too many PvPs. His PvPs weren't that strong here today, but he did strategies that ended up working for him. PvP is a very weird matchup, you know? A lot of things can go wrong. Like, when he did his DTs, things could have gone wrong. Last round. Was able to come through, so this isn't really very indicative of his skill level. I'd like to see him play other matchups, but I think he will in the up and down matchups, and he might show us some great play. He might be able to get back in. He was in Code S before for a reason.
And PvP is something that he can practice a lot in the NSOSO house. He did have San Zenith, or previously San Zenith, now NSOSO San to practice with. And San was previously a Code S player, but now is knocked down to Code B by our next Zerg player, FXO Chef.
Yeah, FXO Chef, he's coming up.
Yep.
He's a great guy. The Manor Zerg, that's what they call him in NA. He gets so many stream views. He's actually living in my house. He's a great guy. Well, my house.
Living in your house?
My house. He's living in my house. I own
your
the
country.
House now.
This is America.
This is my house.
Korea.
Oh yeah, we live together. That's what I meant to say. And I hang out with him all the time. He's a great guy in person as well as online. Just as nice online as he is in person, really.
Plays with the keyboard on his lap. But we are going to go for a 5-minute break before coming back to those games.